Hi PMC, Lauren here with vocal video number 4. I mentioned last time that this video was going to talk about articulation. Articulation is the way that we attack the note, whether it's, let's say, legato or staccato or accented. Those are sort of the 3 main articulations that we encounter with singing. Well, I'll add another one, tenuto. So legato, staccato, accented, tenuto. These are articulations that singers use a lot. They really help with conveying meaning through the text. However, these articulations are not specific to singers. We use these articulations across the board in terms of other instruments and things like that. The question is, how do we achieve these articulations with our voice? And many times we do it in kind of an unhealthy way. So let's break it down and let's talk about staccato first. Most people, when they hear staccato, they think as short as possible. And really, staccato just means detached, which is why very often singers get confused when they see a half note with staccato underneath it, for example, and you think, well, why did they write it as a half note? Because it doesn't mean make it as short as possible, it means detach it from the notes around it. So how do we sing staccato? Well, let's talk about our instrument for a second. We've created this space, right? We know to lift our soft palate. We know to relax the shoulders and lengthen the neck, relax the jaw, relax the tongue. We've been through all of that. And we've talked about phonating and producing sound, and we've talked about vowels. Now we want to manipulate all of those things. So let's talk about, let's say we have an ah. Ah, just say ah. Nice and simple, with your soft palate raised. Ah, ah, ah. Try it in your head voice. Ah, ah, ah. If we wanted to make that ah detached, let's say we want to do 5 ahs in a row, all staccato, all detached. What is your first instinct? A lot of people would do ah, 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 ah. Now what I'm doing here, I'm controlling the sound by closing and opening the throat, squeezing here. Let's think for a moment though about our voice as being kind of like a garden hose. What I just did to shut the water off or to keep the water from going, I just made a kink in the hose. Now, you know, if you do that too many times with the hose pops a hole. I'm not suggesting you're gonna pop a hole in your throat, but this is a lot of wear and tear on your throat. Ah, 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 and you don't actually have a lot of control. What you need to do to articulate staccato is stop the airflow from the bottom, from your diaphragm. So let's go back to the 5 ahs, and this time, keep your throat open the entire time. Ah, 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 ah. Ah, 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 ah. I haven't changed anything here. I could just as easily say, ah, 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 ah. All of it is happening by controlling the airflow. You can do it with all the vowels. So let's pick another vowel, E. Let's take E. E, 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 E. E, 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 E. That's detached, that's staccato. And that's as simple as it gets. You could pick one pitch if you want to, or you could pick, let's say, an ascending and descending fifth. So let's start with one pitch. E, 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 E. Now if I wanted to do ascending, E, 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 E. Nothing's changing here. All of it is controlled from here. I'm detaching the notes, creating space by stopping the airflow, not by making a kink here. Now, the opposite of this, legato, is as connected and smooth as possible. So for singers, that means elongating the vowel as much as possible. So we're going to do a similar exercise, but then make it a little bit more relevant for singers. So let's take the same thing. We're going to stick with the ascending fifth and descending fifth for legato on E. Now, singing legato on one vowel is pretty easy for a singer because that's all we got. We just have vowels to sing on. What becomes difficult for singers is when we have to insert consonants in between pitches and in between vowels, then we lose the legato because we cut the vowel short. So let's do the same exercise, but let's put a D in front of each note. So D, 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 D. D, 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 D. I'm elongating the vowel as much as possible. I could sing it on da, 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 or do, 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 or I could pick another consonant. Let's pick one that's not voiced. Most of you probably already know this, but D, D, D is a voiced consonant. It's pitched. The opposite, well, I shouldn't say the opposite, but the twin of D, the unvoiced twin, is T. T, 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 D, D, D. One's voiced, D. One's unvoiced, T, T, T. So let's sing T, 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 T. Same exercise, but this time we're using the unvoiced consonant. And this becomes a little trickier. T, 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 T. I have to work extra hard because when I drop in that T sound, the vowel is interrupted. It's interrupted with a puff of air that doesn't include phonation. But I need to make that vowel last as long as possible before I drop in that T or any other unvoiced consonant, for example. Let's pick another one. Let's say P. Let's use a P and let's change the vowel to O. So we'll sing po, 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 po. Let's say it one time. Po, 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 po. You can feel the P here. Po, 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 po. I'm really elongating the vowel. So legato singing is going to the extreme of making the vowel stretch as far as possible before you have to interrupt the sound with a consonant. That's what makes legato, legato for singers. So we've got staccato detached. We've got legato, which is smooth and connected. Let's talk about accented. Accented singing is another thing that singers can do very enthusiastically, maybe too enthusiastically if they're not doing it correctly. You can accent something, we think about an accent as being a strong attack. That's what we want, a strong attack. And just like I just demonstrated, we think of that attack as being aggressive, as being something physical that we do. So, of course, a singer, when you say accented, you want to use your body. You want to be aggressive. You want to put energy into a motion to get that accent. And I mean, even as a conductor, you want to show an accent by energy in the body, motion. The danger with this is that we start, again, to squeeze here and try to move our heads to give an accent. So let's break it down. The accent, first of all, is only the beginning of the attack. Once you have the attack, your chance for making an accent are past. That's what's effective about an accent, that it's strong in the beginning and then there is a decay. So it's going to come from here. I don't know if you can see. I'm just touching my abdominal muscles. Right down here. So put your hands here. I have my hands just sort of right around my rib cage, the bottom of my rib cage, right above my belly button. And we're just gonna practice saying ha, detached. So I guess technically it is also staccato. Ha, 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 ha. You should feel a bounce right here in your diaphragm area. You should feel your abdominal muscles engaging to control the airflow. making it go, making it stop. Ha, 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 ha. Now, if you want to make it stronger, you engage your abdominals more. Ha, 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 ha. Again, nothing is happening here in terms of me trying to give more sound or volume or power. It's all coming from this abdominal area. It's all coming from airflow. So let's take our same exercise, the ascending fifths, and we're gonna do it on ha, ha, and this time it won't be staccato, but I want you to accent each note on ha, ha, ha. I'm trying to do all the work here. Now ha is tricky because it's just air. So let's change it to da. Let's go back to the da sound. Da, 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 da. Now in this exercise, the D helps you create an accent. And it's still not detached. I'm still connecting the pitches. Well, the difficulty that you run into here is that it's easy when you're trying to give an accent at the beginning of a pitch to end up overshooting it, overpowering your vocal cords, and the pitch bends. So you have to find your balance. And this is where you just practicing exercises like this, it's gonna be your best resource for getting to know your own voice. What are your limits? How far can you push yourself before it becomes out of tune, before it becomes uncomfortable, before it becomes something that doesn't add to the community sound? And this is always the question for singers in a choir. What is the best that I can add? And your loudest accent may be significantly louder than the person next to you or significantly softer. But you have to know what your own limits are and not assume that just because someone next to you is doing something, that's how your voice works. Know what your limits are. Know what you're capable of. So back to this da, da, da. And let's try to do soft accents, which is also a thing. Still da, 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 still 5 notes ascending and descending. Hands on your abdominals. Da, 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 da. I'm thinking about the vowel actively and bouncing each one. Okay, so we've talked about legato, we've talked about staccato, we've talked about accents. The last one I want to address is tenuto. Tenuto literally means to hold. So it's both an articulation marking and it also has something to do with playing with your sense of time as it relates to the beat, which of course is tricky as a group singer because your sense of time needs to match the conductor's sense of time too. But as someone who's practicing individually, tenuto, we want to imagine that we're just holding the note a little longer. So what's different about this articulation is that instead of it being an articulation that has to do with the beginning of the attack, it has to do with the latter part of the note, where you stretch the end of it. So let's take a phrase, let's make up something, and we can use this phrase to practice all of the different articulations that we've talked about. So let's see, what would be a good phrase? I wish we could sing together. Okay, 8 syllables. And we're just gonna do it on one pitch. So let's take just the robot version. I'm gonna pick this pitch. I wish we could sing together. So first off, we're going to just sing it on one note, and let's get the vowels and the consonants all dropped into place. So we have lots of vowels. I wish we could sing together. All those have to fit into this space, and we have to drop in those consonants. I wish we could sing together. So right now, I'm attacking this in terms of legato. Make the vowel last as long as possible until you have to drop in the next consonant. I wish we could sing together. Elongate the vowel. Okay, let's take the same phrase, same pitch, and let's do it staccato. Now remember, staccato doesn't mean as short as possible. It just means detached in this case. Well, that's not quite. I wish we could sing together. It's very tricky. And then as singers, we also run into the question of what do we do with the final consonant of the word? Do we put it on before the space, or do we attach it to the next word, as is our usual habit? That would be a question you would ask your conductor. But for our sake, let's finish the word or finish the syllable and just practice this idea of creating space between each syllable. I wish we could sing together. It's very tricky. The other thing that staccato singing does, which can be really frustrating but very revealing, it gives you one shot to sing on a pitch. So it's a good exercise if you're concerned about intonation or if you're practicing really nailing notes instead of sliding through. Okay, so we've done our legato, we've done staccato. Let's talk about accented. Let's pick out the important words here to accent. Let's do, I wish we could sing together. I wish we could sing together. So when I just did that, I pushed a little too hard on wish. So the pitch was a little funny. You got to experiment with it. Know what your limits are, like I said, and also understand that the limits change in terms of the pitch, the vowel, the consonant. I wish we could sing together. And I like to use some sort of hand motion to help me. You know, singing is so internal in terms of using your instrument. There's nothing to see. So it helps us kind of visualize what the music looks like when we use motions, which, you know, is what a conductor does. They should be showing you what the music looks like. So you can, it's kind of like conducting yourself. Let's change the accents. I wish we could sing together. I wish we could sing together. I think I might have messed up the last accent. Anyways, you get my gist. You can change, just like an actor can change their inflection, you can do the same thing as a singer with articulation, the way that you attack and approach a note. Let's take the same phrase and let's add some tenutos. Let's add the tenuto to I wish and sing. I wish we could sing together. I really just stretched a little bit. I didn't necessarily change the rhythm here. I wish we could sing together. And tenuto, in a way, also involves volume. I made those words a little bit louder. But my point here is that we have so many tools to make our singing expressive. And it's really important to practice using those tools, to know how to use the tools, so that when a conductor asks you to do something specific, no problem. The other thing is when a conductor, or if you're just singing alone, if you're just trying to be musical, what are your options? It's like, this is your palette as a singer. These articulations help color the phrase, help draw attention to certain parts of the phrase. And not just the text, but the shape of the musical line as well. All these are really, really important. And I would recommend you practicing this by picking your own phrase. You could change it daily. You could do multiple pitches if you want. That just adds different factors that you want to think about. When you do it on one pitch, it kind of simplifies your exercise. You could pick another language, for example. But the point is, it's harder than people realize to navigate language. And even though articulation isn't specific to singers, it is both more colorful and more difficult for singers because we have language thrown in here. So finding ways to use the language to your benefit, but also understand how it can trip you up. These are all really important things to do, because these are the minutiae that, you know, in a group, someone in the audience might not understand why something was out of tune or why the tempo seemed to be dragging, but it could be because the articulation was different across the board. It could be because these consonants, you know, weren't really placed well in between the vowels. So those are the things to think about. Pick your phrase. You can change it daily. It could be a mantra. But see if you can experiment with these articulations. And if you find that you're having some trouble accessing these abdominal muscles as helpers for your singing, then something that you could do really easily to practice is pant. You'd be surprised when you ask people to pant. Most of the time, they're only exhaling. But actually panting, if you look at a dog, panting involves an active exhale and a passive inhale. Those are the exact same muscles you would use to help you with articulation. So if you found all the stuff I just told you about really hard to maneuver while singing, start with just the panting and see if you can pant for a good 30 minutes with, not 30, erase that, 30 seconds without feeling like your head's gonna explode. That's gonna strengthen the appropriate muscles you need for these articulations, and then move on to just saying ha, ha, ha with your different articulations, or ho, ho, ho. Always leave the singing for last until you've really worked through the other issues. So I hope this was helpful. Vocal video number 5 on my list is going to be my favorite vocalizations, the ones that I do when I really just want to stretch out my voice and feel like I am accessing both the high, the low, the middle, all the things that make it feel good. So I hope you all are doing well. I hope these are helpful, and I look forward to seeing you for the next vocal video.